friends, long time no see. I've been kind of busy down at the theater in a production of Oliver, which is why I have stage makeup on right now. Today was a matinee. I've also been having a little bit of trouble getting to these videos because we are down to one car right now, and I'm driving my kid to work and I'm driving my husband to work, and we live out in the country, so that's requiring me to drive 3, sometimes 4 hours a day just to keep everybody going to work. And then I had already committed to doing this show, and it's just, you know, and then the gas, all of that stuff. I can't afford to get the other car fixed. It's a nightmare. So if you are so moved, I totally appreciate donations to the PayPal or for the Patreon. The Patreon, we're actually going to be reading Fourth Wing. I'll be doing Fourth Wing recaps over there at the $5 tier because that's what everybody voted. And I just felt bad for saying that. I felt like being like, shh, like, you know, that's what we're doing. Shh, we're doing Fourth Wing. Except they'll already know by the time this video is posted. So if you are interested in reading recaps of Fourth Wing that are like my 50 Shades of Grey recaps from way back when, head on over to the Patreon. The link is in the description. But yeah, times are tough. So thanks for hanging in there with me and waiting on these videos. We are still reading The Misses, and boy howdy, let's get into it. Chapter 31. When the chapter starts, Maxim is thinking about the fact that Alessia has been trying to get him to reconcile with his mother. And he's thinking, like, you know, after the way my mother treated her, like, why would she want to spend any time with her? That she would volunteer to spend any time with the mothership is either foolhardy or courageous. Mate, who are you kidding? Alessia is beyond courageous. This is one of those times where, like, do you remember 50 Shades of Grey, where we kept hearing how brave Anastasia was? She's so brave. Oh, you're the bravest person I've ever met. Oh, you're so brave. And then it was like, but what brave stuff has she been doing? Like, what is brave about her? In this case, Alessia actually is courageous. I mean, she escaped the trafficking and all of that. So yeah, I'll give her that this time. Way to use the word correctly. I feel like at some point an editor asked E.L. James to please stop saying every inch a countess. They may have said, you know, you've used this several times and it's just, there's a lot of repetition, so maybe we try to find some other way to describe Alessia. She's dressed in her Jimmy Choos, elegant black trousers, and a cream silk blouse. Her hair is brushed and swept back in a chic fancy braid, and the pearls I bought her in Paris nestle at her ears. Her makeup is discreet, her perfume an expensive whisper of Chanel, and her engagement ring sparkles beneath the light from the chandelier. She's every inch a peeress. Then he thinks about what she looked like when she was just his housekeeper, because we cannot have a chapter go by where we're not, you know, reminded that Alessia is not really nobility. The headscarf, the blue nylon housecoat, the scuffed trainers. A lump threatens to form in my throat. My wife fucking rocks countessing. So yeah, I think that was another place where they were like, you can't just keep saying that she's every inch a countess. And she was like, well, I'll just make it every inch a peeress, and then I'll have him say that she's good at countessing. If that is a verb, if that's a real verb, please let me know, because I will use it forever and always. He tells her she looks perfect. She says, you look perfect, muchly. Can someone please remind me where muchly came from? Because it was not E.L. James's imagination. I have heard muchly before. Is that Alice in Wonderland? What book? It feels like it was a children's book or something where muchly was used. But either way, I'm gonna be annoyed no matter what the origin is. He thinks about how, like, going away to Cornwall got rid of all of the paparazzi, which I'm glad for, because frankly, I was tired of hearing about how famous he is. Baymax! No! You may come in here and you may be thy special little man, and then you must leave. This is Baymax. You've seen him before. He's my special little man. Right now, the dog has the zoomies. So Baymax doesn't want to be out there. Anyway, I can't actually let him stay in here while I film because he's a little bastard man. Look at the camera. Look at the camera! Show them that you're a little bastard man! He is a little bastard man who knocks over my tripod, so he can't be in here because he's a little bastard man. Don't worry about the dog. Look at the hatred. Look at the hatred this cat has for that dog. Just the abject hatred. He's gonna go out there and find that dog and start a fight for no reason. Where were we before I got a mouthful of cat hair? As they start walking along, Alessia says they should move into their new house. And then Maxim is like, sure, yeah, whenever you want, let's move into the new house. And she's like, but the piano is the most important piece of furniture. And he explains how they're going to get the piano into the house with a crane because we are at 91% in this book. So obviously we don't need to use our page space wisely. We don't need to start wrapping shit up. We need a lesson in how to lift a fucking piano into a goddamn apartment. Alessia and Maxim arrive and they find out that Rowena isn't there yet, but Marianne is. And Marianne and Caroline, or Carolyn, or who the fuck ever, I keep changing how I pronounce her name, is waiting in the drawing room. Marianne says Seattle was great. She heard that Alessia helped with the lambing. Both women are impeccably dressed as usual. Marianne in a navy trouser suit, Caroline in a belted charcoal silk shirt dress. But this time, Alessia feels she is too. I feel like there really could be a book in the idea of a young woman becoming a countess, right? And, you know, learning all the ins and outs of royalty and having these feelings of like, you know, do I fit in with the nobility? Am I doing all of this stuff right? And I feel like that could really be a good book, which is probably why Meg Cabot wrote that fucking book when she wrote The Princess Diaries. And I'm not saying that this is a ripoff of The Princess Diaries. There's like 26,000 different variations on that theme. What I'm saying is that it probably would have been better for that to be the focus of this book, to do it all from Alessia's POV, the way that 50 Shades of Grey was all from Anastasia's POV. And if they had done that, if Erica had done that, this book would have been more interesting. And if it had all stuck to just that, instead of like 900,000 subplots, this could have been just a romance where she falls in love with Maxim and she learns the ins and outs of society and she adapts. And we don't need to have necessarily the human trafficking, and we don't need to have the big mystery about Kit's parentage. We don't need all that soap opera stuff. If we removed all of that, this could have been a good romance novel. And it also wouldn't have taken 2 books, and I suspect possibly 3. I feel like there's gonna be, I feel like the baby is coming. One thing about Marianne going to Seattle is that she hooked up with somebody named Ethan. Like, she has a boyfriend there named Ethan. Because I had transient global amnesia, that was a low blow. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Because that book and that series was so god-awful that I have purged it from my memory. Was Ethan a character in 50 Shades of Grey? And like, is this like a tie-in? Ethan sounds so familiar as a name. It's already been confirmed to us that these Trevelyan's are like cousins to Christian Grey's mother. So, but there's something weird going on in this scene. While Marianne is telling Alessia about Seattle and asking about the lambing, saying she wants to know about the lambing and she misses Cornwall, tell me about Cornwall. Maxim has gone to help Caroline make drinks. So there's a separate little conversation happening in the same room, and it's like pretty intense. Caroline hands me a gin and tonic. We were interrupted earlier. You never answered my question. Caro, I don't think this is the time or the place. Please, she whispers, her plea so heartfelt it confounds me. Sensing my weakness, she persists. I need to know. So they're having this little private conversation over there in the corner or wherever at the bar while Marianne and Alessia are talking. And this just seems to be another one of those situations where Maxim is having a more intimate moment with his sister-in-law than he does with his wife. And I don't mean intimacy like sexiness, but I mean like confidingness. He hasn't confided any of this stuff to Alessia or what's going on about, you know, the sister-in-law and what he suspects about his brother. He discusses these things with Caroline, and he discusses these really intensely personal and private things with Caroline, but not with Alessia. And that just creates an intimate emotional bond that he doesn't have with Alessia, because when he's with Alessia, the only thing he wants to talk about is how beautiful she is and how much he wants to fuck her. Marianne interrupts them and says something about teaching her how to drive, teaching Alessia how to drive. I turn my attention to her and my wife, who's eyeing Caroline and me warily. She knows something's going on. Yeah, she thinks you're cheating. She thinks you're cheating because you spend more time talking about your feelings and all this stuff that's going on to this other woman who you used to have a sexual relationship with. So, I don't know, buddy. Maybe you should be taking your wife's feelings into account here. Rowena walks in and she is stunned to see Maxim there. So apparently they must have sprung this on her. They haven't told her that he's going to be there. Like, apparently Caroline hasn't mentioned that. Hello, Mother, I greet her brightly and step forward to kiss her cheek. She remains utterly frozen, blinking into the distance like she's desperately trying to wish herself anywhere but here. Ignoring her reaction, I kiss her anyway, and as I do, it dawns on me that she's terrified. My mother? Terrified? I'm horrified, but what upsets me more is that I recognize that look because I've seen it before, ... on my wife. Something twists and turns and breaks inside me, and before I can stop myself, I gather Rowena's thin frame in my arms, holding her close as my heartbeat races. It's okay, I whisper as she stands unyielding in my embrace. It's okay. I've got you. Remember when I said that it was cool that Alessia used the I got you thing for her friend after Maxim had been using it? And it was like, hey, this shows to the reader that Alessia knows that this is a safety thing, that this made Alessia feel safe, and so she's using these same words to make someone else feel safe. And how neat that was? Maxim's gotta do it too, huh? Guess what? It's not as neat when you repeat it again with another set of characters. We already know that Maxim is good at comforting people. And yes, this is a thing with his mom, but it's almost like the author cannot allow Alessia to have any moments that are just for her and just for her development. If Alessia has a moment, Maxim needs to have that same moment. He deserves it. He deserves to have whatever she has, whatever moment she's having. And it's absolutely infuriating because this has now just made I've got you into a trite repeated phrase that is basically, it just negates the power of it in the scene that we read very recently in this book. It doesn't feel recently because it's like we're reading a chapter a week, right? But in this book, it has been very recently that took place, that callback took place. So now she's doing it again. Because Maxim we need to go back to Maxim being the comforter. Basically, that's all it takes. All it takes is him hugging her and saying he's got her, and she's like, my boy! And then that's it. They are made up after years of lies. Years of lies and mistreating his wife. Okay. We've been building up to this. We've been building and building and building, and all it takes is for him to hug her and use the same words that he used with his wife. Is he a Jedi? Is he a hypnotist? Is this something that he can just say and it miraculously happens? What is going on here? Alessia is thrilled by this. She's watching it and she's like, this is exactly what I wanted to have happen. Not, you know, I want them to communicate their problems. I don't know. But she's happy enough. She's thrilled with this. She glances at her sisters-in-law, Marianne is stunned into silence as she gapes at her mother and brother, while Caroline stares at them, frowning in utter confusion. Finally, she scowls. "What the hell is going on?" Caroline exclaims. We go back into Maxim's POV, and Rowena is like, "Oh, you haven't told her?" And it's for the first time kind of striking me that Caroline has no idea that Kit wasn't really, you know, Rowena and her husband's child. My favorite thing, I think, in this entire chapter is this is said by Rowena. "All these feelings. This is frightfully bourgeoisie." Now, Caroline has already said, like, what the fuck is going on, right? So she's already asked once. She's asked one time already. So she's having to ask again. "Will somebody please explain what's happening here?" Caroline says. "Caroline, darling, I think I have some explaining to do," Rowena says. "But first, Alessia." And then we go into Alessia's POV. Alessia's heart starts pumping as Maxim's mother faces her and raises her chin. "What is this?" "I owe you an apology." Alessia's scalp tingles. She is not expecting this. "What I said to you the last time we met was unforgivable. Heath had been interfering, as you know, but I brought him to heel. I didn't want him going to the press. Anyway, I hope you can find it within yourself to forgive me all the same." And then, Alessia's like, "Yeah, absolutely, forgiven." So that was easy. So Rowena goes on to keep talking about, like, how Alessia has a generous spirit, and, you know, you had quite the effect on my son, and this whole, like, just talking to her while Caroline is sitting here like, could somebody explain what's happening? Could someone please tell me what the fuck is going on? Caroline snaps. "Let me fix you a drink, Mother," Maxim says. Like, they're just ignoring Caroline in her own house? Like, she's repeatedly being like, what is happening? What was the big falling out? What is going on? Repeatedly asking, and they are ignoring her and talking to each other. I don't like Caroline, but what the fuck, you guys? Maxim is gonna go get Rowena wine. Rowena sits down. Alessia sits down. Everybody's taking their sweet time, apparently. And Rowena says, "Are you ready to hear this?" She's addressing her children. They already know. You already told them. Why are you asking them if they're ready to hear it? "Hear what?" Caroline asks, still bewildered. Marianne turns to Caroline. "Daddy was not Kit's father." So, Rowena's like, "I didn't mean to spring this on you. I thought I could tell you privately," which is really interesting because Rowena's had plenty of time to tell her privately ever since Kit has died, but she just hasn't. So yeah, Rowena didn't know that the family was going to be there. She thought she was having this private dinner one-on-one with her to tell her this big giant news that everybody else in the family knows and is sitting there, and they've just been asked if they're okay with hearing about it. But fuck Caroline, I guess. And then Rowena asks Caroline again, like, "Do you want to hear this?" Well, she's already heard it. She already knows. What do you mean, do you want to hear this? Rowena explains what happened with Kit and Kit's real father. I'm not going to read it. It's just a huge chunk of dialogue. It's just, now here's the exposition. Rowena sits down, she has her glass of wine, and she just tells everything straight out, just in these big, giant, chunky block paragraphs. Basically what happens is, when she first came to London, was to go to university, and her parents were really strict when she was growing up, and since she didn't have any control, and she was living with her friends, and her friend was a model, she went and she signed up and she became a model too. She even says, "I became what was known as an it girl." So she was a famous model before she was a countess. This is the first time we're hearing about this. It probably should have come up all the times when we were hearing about how she was hanging out with male models. Like, maybe Maxim could have thought, because my mother used to be a model, she has all of these friends who are models and whatever. But it didn't. It's just suddenly 92% in. By the way, just sprinkle some of that shit in, please. Anyway, she met a dude, and he was a musician, and she slept with him, and he didn't want anything to do with her, and she said that, you know, then she's, oh God, okay, this is, we also learn that Maxim's father was a photographer. Now, it would have been nice to at some point learn that Maxim got his photography. I'm so mad I can't speak. I am having like stammerer, stutterer shutdown because I'm so mad. We could have heard at some point in the first book or this book that his father was a photographer and that his mother was once a model. But do you know why we didn't hear those things? Because we have been told that they are super proper, that they have always been super proper, and that Maxim being a photographer and a DJ was somehow rebellious. We were supposed to see him as rebelling against his upbringing by being involved in these things, right? So now we're learning that actually his dad and his mom both were doing those things. Surprise! We couldn't have those realistically sprinkled in before because it would have destroyed the fact that he's this charming rebel. But it would have made a lot of sense, wouldn't it? He could have had some sort of bond with his father over their shared interest in photography. And that could make this very difficult and on a deeper level for him to hear how his father was betrayed by never knowing that the child he thought was his son really wasn't, or whatever. There's so much that could have been done with this that wasn't, for no reason. And not only was his dad a photographer, he was a famous photographer. He was super famous. He took pictures of all the models. All the models wanted to work with him. So it's not even like it was a secret that his dad was a photographer. It's just like he was a super famous photographer in the 1980s and his mom was a super famous model. Hey, you know what? Do you know what would have made the paparazzi constantly hounding Maxim more realistic? Is if he had fucking famous parents from the 1980s. If his fucking mom was like, clearly was Jerry Hall, his fucking dad was a big, expensive, famous photographer, it would have made more sense that his life is of interest. Right? Because we care. We care about celebrities' children. We care about someone who was famous and now their kid is older and doing other things. These are things we care about in media, right? So it could have made more sense. So many things in this book could have made more sense, and in the last book could have made so much more sense if the author had decided before she had to wrap this book up what she needed to wrap the book up. If she had sat down and, I don't know, outlined, maybe because I write fantasy books and outlining, you have to outline or else you end up with a big ol' mess. Maybe I lean too heavily on the idea of outlines, but this just seems like something an outline would have fucking fixed. Oh, surprise! Their dad knew. Their dad knew that Kit wasn't his own. But she says he embraced Kit as his own. But then we always, weren't we just hearing that he didn't? Weren't we hearing that Kit, Rowena, Kit was her favorite, and that there was coldness between Kit and his father? I feel pretty confident that that was the dynamic that was described. If you thought that we weren't going to get homophobia in this shit, guess what? Guess the fuck what? Anyway, Kit's father moved to the US and became a hugely successful entrepreneur and very publicly gay, which probably explains his dismissal of me and my child. I never heard from him again, and I pushed him to the back of my mind until he died last year. It was on the news, and that's when I learned of his genetic condition. So there was a genetic condition. It wasn't just that he was trying to figure out that his if he was his father's son, okay? It wasn't just a paternity thing. There is apparently a genetic condition. But what I want to talk about is, why did he have to be gay? Why is it like, oh, he's very publicly gay? Something about that, maybe it was because of all the homophobia in 50 Shades of Grey. I just want E.L. James to forget that gay people exist. And then he was having all of these headaches, and she was like, I have to tell him about his true parentage because blah, blah, blah. And then he gets on the motorbike and dies. Mystery solved. Then Caroline is like, he wasn't just angry with you, I let him down too. And Rowena says, I know. And she's like, he told you? And she's like, oh, I'm in no position to judge, blah, blah, blah. But could you tell us? Could you clue us in? Could you, I know that, you know, Caroline, I know that Rowena knows because he told her, and there was some sort of betrayal here, but just, could maybe the reader find out too? They decide that they need to move up the memorial service now and give him a proper send-off, and then dinner is served. Do you wonder what it was that Caroline did that... Do you have any... Do you wonder? I'm wondering. I guess I should already know. I know that Maxim suspected, so this is supposed to be confirmation to Maxim of the suspected affair. But that's not enough for me, you know? I need to, like, hear it from the horse's mouth, or at least someone who has ridden the horse. Oh, wait, no, that doesn't work, because Maxim has definitely ridden the horse. But I need to hear it from someone on the fucking farm, right? With first-hand knowledge. They have dinner. We find out where everyone is sitting, by the way. Caroline insists that Maxim sit at the head of the table. On either side of him, Caroline and his mother take their seats, with Marianne beside Caro and Alessia sitting beside Rowena. I don't care. It's fucking 93% into this book. Can we wrap this shit up? Can we wrap it up? He talks about the distillery and the regenerative farming, and we don't see it. It's just, we're told that he does this stuff, which is fine because I don't want to hear any more about the regenerative farming. The only person who doesn't seem at ease is Caroline. She glances continually at Maxim as if trying to convey something. Finally, during dessert, Caroline rises. Maxim automatically does too. Darling, she says to Maxim, I need to speak with you and give you those items that belonged to Kit. Please, can we do it now? Darling. Darling. Maxim's gaze slides to Alessia's, and his eyes are wide with what? Panic? Why? Alessia decides this is something between him and his ex-mistress. Nothing to do with her. So she gives him a reassuring smile and offers a slight shrug of her shoulder. I don't know what to do with any of this. The tone of this book is so uneven. I don't know what to do with the knowledge that Alessia is totally fine with Caroline calling her husband darling and asking to go off somewhere alone with him. What is happening? When would Alessia be fine with this? Where was the character development? Because I have yet to see any character development other than her just being like, oh, well, Maxim says he's not going to cheat on me. I guess that's okay. But he has this extremely intimate relationship emotionally with another woman, and he leaves her out of stuff, and he keeps secrets from her, and she's like, it's okay. Go off with your ex-mistress who just called you darling. Rowena, though, asks Alessia to play piano, and since she's just a human jukebox that they use whenever they want, she's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Maxim and Caroline go to Kit's study, and Maxim thinks about, hell, I'd always looked up to Kit and envied him. He got the girl. He got the title. He was gifted at his work in the city. City is capitalized for some reason. I have no clue what's going on anymore, but he got the girl. Your wife is in the other room. The one who's every inch a countess is in the other room. You got the girl? What the hell? Why didn't she just write this book about Maxim and Caroline? Because that's what she wanted to write the book about. I decide to grasp the bull by the horns. I heard what you said to Rowena. Caro leans against Kit's antique desk and crosses her arms. You know then. I sigh. I know that Kit knew you had been, or were, playing away. So, yeah, it's confirmed now, but it would have been nice back when they were discussing it before. I'm just saying, if you ever want to write a book, probably the best way to do it is to include the details when they are pertinent. Maxim asks Caroline if she cheated with one person or several people, and she's like, I did love him, and then he says, what was it that she said about Kit being difficult? Caroline sits up straight and peers at her fingernails again. She sighs. He was aloof and demanding, controlling, occasionally violent. So he was like beating her up or whatever, okay? Can we cram one more thing into this book? At 94%, can we just wedge one more subplot into this as hard as we can? And now we get to the big moment. Caroline says, I knew I'd made the wrong choice, she whispers. Caro, don't. We're not going there. What's done is done. It was so hard for me, watching you aimlessly dipping your wick in anything with a short skirt and a pulse. He says he's not doing that anymore. And she says, she rolls her eyes. Yes, I've seen it. You light up like fucking Christmas when she walks into a room. It's nauseating. No, Caro, it's love. You were never like that with me. Yeah, 'cause he didn't love you! He asks if she wants the journal, or she's like, are you gonna give me the journal, or whatever. No, she says, are you gonna give me the journal? He says, do you really want to know what it says? And she's like, I hope he didn't hate me. He's like, I didn't get the impression that he hated you. He calls her darling. We were making an effort. Don't get me wrong. There were good times too. Dwell on those, darling. Why are you calling this woman darling? Why is she calling you darling? And why are you having an emotionally intimate conversation in another room while your wife is sitting out there, again, being treated like a stereo with legs? And she gives him a box of Kit's stuff. He's like, I'll look at it when I get home. He says he's sorry, and then she's like, let's get back to the family. He thinks, family? Yes, my family. My fucked up family. Sheesh. Thank God for Alessia. We just went through this. We just went through this big reconciliation, long-ass reconciliation chapter where everything is fine, and now he's like, my fucked up family. You know, well, fuck a duck, Maxim. I don't know if you're ever gonna be happy. You just reconciled, all the secrets are out in the open, everything with Caroline's out in the open, you're calling her darling because you're having an emotional affair with her that will last for your entire relationship with poor Alessia, who should just frankly fucking leave you. But yeah, let's just we'll put the button on it there. Let's put the button on it there. That was chapter 31. So that's exciting. I'm looking ahead here to see just how fucking long. Oh my God. Apparently, I know I haven't been looking ahead, right? I've been trying not to, but I want to see if this is the last, if this is, 32 will be the last chapter. And it is so fucking long, and so much of it is just sex. So that's what we have to look forward to. Just the longest fucking, oh God, there's an epilogue too. So yeah, there's, the next chapter is gonna be, I might even have to switch it in, I might have to cut it up just so it fits on YouTube. It's so long. The next chapter goes from, God, tongues and teeth and erection, from 94% all the way to the epilogue at 98%. So, boy, this has, man, I don't look forward to next week, coming home from strike, sitting in this chair doing this bullshit. but it's gonna happen. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I will probably, since we're almost done with this book, I'll probably put up a poll and say, what book do you want me to read next? I'll probably pick something from the nominations. I'll pick some of the nominations that didn't get chosen for the Patreon, and we'll read that book here for Jealous Haters AV Club. So if you want to read my Fourth Wing recaps, you're going to want to go over to the Patreon, the $5 tier. If you want to read my watch my icebreaker videos, those are all going to be on the Patreon. I haven't gotten one of those out yet this month, but hey, there's still hope. It's coming up. And yeah, if you liked the video, if you wanted to leave a little change in the Ko-Fi box, that link is down there too. I could really use a new tire, and I could really use like new wheel bearings. So otherwise, stay safe and happy and enjoy your summer and read a much better book than this one, and I will catch you on the flip side.